Hello, welcome back to the channel. Finally doing the Q&A. This is Haley, my roommate. So this is her first ever vlog, so we're just gonna go with it. She's gonna do great.
I'm gonna have a good time.
I asked her to do the Q&A with me because she's a labor and delivery nurse here in Nashville. So I'm like, oh, trauma ICU, labor and delivery. There we go. So we made a little mocktails. Cheers.
What is it?
It is the Trader Joe's watermelon cucumber mix with some seltzer, club soda something, and then a little bit of lime squeezed in.
That's so good. That's so refreshing. About my job.
Yeah, tell me what you do at work.
Oh gosh.
Labor and delivery side.
Labor and delivery. Delivering a lot of babies. We deliver a lot of babies. So my role is just being the nurse during a vaginal birth or the circulator during a C-section. So I get to see both sides of it, which is really fun. And my unit is high risk, so we get like all the transports from other hospitals that moms with like preeclampsia or babies with like fetal anomalies, we get to see all that stuff. So it's been
I didn't know what the last one
experience.
was. Didn't learn that one in nursing school.
But it's really fun and it's really cool delivering babies, even though I don't do it unless they want to deliver before the doctor gets there.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and answer some questions. Some of these were left under like previous videos, and then some of y'all submitted some questions under my post. So hopefully all of them are getting answered. First question, how many nursing schools did you apply to? / what did you need to apply? I applied to 12 nursing schools. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know, I applied to a lot. I was just from a very small town, and I was like, I need to go to like the farthest away as possible. Not really, but I applied to like schools I wanted to do nursing after I graduated. So I only applied to like big city schools. And I wanted like an option. I did it mainly for like living purposes and not really like the school. Yeah. I applied to schools in like Miami, Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee.
Wow.
So I applied to a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. I think I want to say I applied to 3. I lived in Arizona when I went to nursing school. So I applied to 2 schools in Arizona. And then I really went through this phase where I was going to move to New Jersey and live with my family. So I applied to nursing school in New Jersey. But then I went to where I got the best scholarship. So yeah. That ultimately helped me decide.
And then I did an accelerated nursing program. We can talk about that later. But I basically needed just another bachelor's degree to apply. That's all I needed really for nursing school. I didn't need any like healthcare experience or anything.
Oh yeah, because you did it after you had a degree. That really makes it different.
Yeah. So I applied to nursing school after I got a degree already in nutrition. So I was like, I don't want to do another 4 years. So I did what's called an accelerated program. That's one thing. Well, I guess we can go ahead and answer that question now, but I got some questions about being in an accelerated program, like what's the difference between accelerated and traditional? Did you do traditional?
I did traditional, yeah.
So my program was 18 months and we did it in like quarters. So I would do 10-week quarters and there were 6 of them. So I would just do like 3 classes for 10 weeks. And then, yeah, moved it for pretty fast pace. Some days, some quarters I did like 10 weeks, I had a week off, and then I would go back for another 10 weeks, and sometimes I had like a month off, so it just depended on the program.
Yeah, and mine was, I did it like out of high school, so ours was 4 years, but only 2 years of it was like the real like nursing program. The beginning was just like all your chemistry, all that stuff. And so we did 2 years and had the summers off, but I graduated during COVID, so the last semester of my nursing school was a little wild, but
yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that during COVID. That's pretty much the difference between an accelerated program and a traditional program. I mean, you're still getting the same degree, it's just one's like really fast paced, and there's no point, I feel like, in doing a traditional program if you already have a degree. So
I can understand that.
Yeah. Just get in there and get it done. Okay, next question. What was your program like? As in like grading scale, clinical hours, your clinical rotations, and what did graduation look like?
Our grading scale was weird. Ours was so weird. Like, I think like I don't even remember now, but I remember being annoyed because a 92. I want to say like a 92 was a B.
Was a B?
An A.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly anymore, but I remember it was something like that.
Like I think ours was like that too, a 93 was an A, but if you got below 93, I think it was a B.
Yeah, that sounds right. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
This is so lame.
And it just made things difficult because if you want to do something after nursing school, like nursing isn't your end goal, like you want to further your education, you have to think about that like while you're applying to nursing school, like the grading scale, because it's going to make a difference if you want to apply to like nurse practitioner school or CRNA school. Because a 93 to a 90 can make a big difference between like an A and B, and like when you're applying to like post-grad programs.
Yeah.
Because my GPA, I mean, it was fine, but like I would probably have a more tough time getting into like CRNA school if I like tried, which I don't want to do that, but.
I think so too. I feel like I got to a point in nursing school where I was like, I just need to pass.
Yeah, literally same.
And then like if you got a certain grade, like a C, it was failing, I'm pretty sure, and you had to stay behind a semester.
So what was your, because for my program, our pass rate, we had to get a test average of 80%. And that was it. That's the only thing they cared about, as long as our test average was above 80%. Because I failed the first class in nursing school. I got, I think like a 79.2 or something like that. I missed it on the final by 2 questions, and they failed me.
I just remember there was one semester that I was so close to failing. Like I'm pretty sure the curve on our final, like me and a friend both were looking and just waiting for the curve.
Yeah.
And depending how much the curve was, I either was going to fail or pass, and I ended up passing. And
honestly, that's how a lot of
like
our,
the greatest day of my life.
Yeah. Like most of the quarters, I was at first like, oh, am I going to make it? I don't know. But I don't know. You're always going to end up where you need to be.
Yeah, the grading scale is really weird.
I know a lot of programs. Yeah, it is.
Because you're like, feel like you're doing so bad, but I feel like in a different, I don't even want to say normal, but like with a normal grading scale, you would be doing 10 times better.
Yeah, like when I got my nutrition degree, a 90 was an A, an 80 was a B.
Right.
So
like,
it's just, yeah.
Like grade school.
Nursing school is completely different. Mm-hmm. Completely different.
I agree with that.
And I know a lot of my friends, their test average or like their passing grade, overall grade was like a 75% or higher. So I think it just depends on what nursing school you go to, and maybe just know that before applying if that's like what you're worried about.
Yeah.
And then clinical hours. I had to do a lot of clinical hours for being an accelerated program in such a short time. Like I know my practicum, my last quarter, I had to get 150 hours in 10 weeks. So that was like really rough. But I feel like our clinical rotations, I got to see everything pretty much. Med surge, ICU, peds, ER, OB, pediatric floors. Got to go into surgery.
Yeah. I think we did like our first one was like long-term care, and then we did like a rotation of all the others, but we all got our placements for our, I guess, practicum. We called it transition to practice. So we all had ours and we were about to start it, and then they all got canceled.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad because of COVID.
Yeah, but my transition was on the floor that I ended up working on.
Oh, that's good.
And I did this like special like pediatric clinical group where we got like extra pediatric clinicals.
Yeah.
And so that helped me get an into that, and then it ultimately ended up helping me get a job, because then it was hard to get a job because of COVID. So.
Yeah. Like I got my job where I did my practicum my last quarter of nursing school. So I feel like that's also like once you're nearing the end, that's something to consider, like what you really want to start doing. So that way when you do your transition or practicum or whatever you want to call it, you can like pick where you want to go. So that way you can like get a job there. Because honestly, I don't know if I would have gotten a job at the place I work at on their trauma ICU if I didn't do my practicum there.
Yeah, I don't think so either with my job. So I started with pediatric CPICU. So
Crazy.
Also
that's tough.
But I think same thing. I don't think I would have been hired unless I had already had that like spot there, even though I didn't do it. But
and then for our like picking our practicum, it was crazy. Like they literally, you put your name in like a bucket and the teacher just draws it out, and that's how they do the order. And so it's like fair, I guess. And say there was only like 2 trauma ICU spots, you were up against like everyone in your program, and they drew your name out, and then say like 2 people before me wanted the trauma ICU spots and I wouldn't have gotten it. And my name was the last one picked. Yeah, the very last one.
Dang,
yeah, and everyone knew I wanted trauma ICU, and I don't think anyone else did. So yeah, I did. I got very lucky.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's how my program did that. It was like funny, but it was also like, this is not funny. Like, this is kind of serious.
Drawing it out of it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like,
I think
seriously.
ours was more formal, but mine
You'd
also
think,
was
yeah.
a little bit different because I was doing that like pediatric pathway. So ours was a little bit different.
And then for graduation, I don't know if your program was like this, but we had to, for our last quarter, basically we only had one test, like quarter 6 out of 6. For the whole 10 weeks, we had one test, and it's called an exit exam, and it's through the program that our school used, which was ATI. And we had to get a 75% or higher on the exit exam, and it's like a cumulative of all of nursing school. And we got 2 chances to take it, and it was like made through ATI, so our teachers had like no idea what was on it. So that's what they made us do our last quarter of nursing school to graduate. So it's basically like a mock NCLEX type of thing. Yeah.
I think ours was based on our grades, and then we had like final things. We had like final exams like that we took, and then we had like one that we did in our like simulation lab.
Oh, yeah.
And I think all those were weighted heavier, but it also was COVID, and so we were doing like online.
True. Okay, got another question. How did you battle anxiety and feelings of giving up throughout nursing school?
Nursing school or my job?
She loves her job.
I do love my job, but it's very stressful.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Being a new nurse.
I guess nursing school.
Let's see. In nursing school, I just feel I got lucky, and I feel like I had a really good support system of nursing friends. Like we just had a big, because my nursing program was really big. I know hers was so small.
Yeah, I think I graduated with 14 people.
Crazy.
We started with 80 something, and I graduated with like 14.
That's crazy. I feel like we started with like 100 something and graduated probably with 60 to 80.
That's how
and
most
maybe
schools are, yeah.
I don't know, but I just remember having a really close group of friends, and we just spent a lot of time together, and we would like cry on my floor together, and I would call my mom crying all the time.
Which is normal. Like if you're not having many panic attacks throughout nursing school, I feel like something like, I feel like you're lying.
Yeah.
Like you're definitely gonna have them, so just prepare yourself for that. Like it's coming.
Yeah. I think you just gotta accept where you're at. Like nursing school is hard, school's hard.
Yeah.
Being a like young adult was hard, and have your people that you can call and just like
that is
keep
very
going.
important. Who you find to study with in nursing school, granted I didn't have like that much of a pool than you did, but like I got so lucky. The quarter that I got held back with, love all of them. Like they're great. So I feel like if I didn't have them to study with, like we would stay up as a group, like sometimes 8 of us together until like 2 o'clock in the morning, studying together, finding the best ways to like learn stuff, laughing about stuff. And so I would get on the test and I would like start laughing as I'm like, oh yeah, this is how we all remembered it. Yeah,
just like the
craziest.
delirious and like the study rooms. We would rent out study rooms and then just all just be so delirious.
So like literally your first day in nursing school, find at least 2 or 3 people to study with and start staying after class, and then people will catch on to that and be like, oh, they're staying after class, let me stay with them. It'll probably take like 2 quarters because people think they don't need to study with people, but then they'll start taking tests and realize, oh, I need to do something different, and then they'll see you staying after class. That's literally what happened to my group.
And study groups. I don't know if your nursing program did study groups, but a lot of our professors would offer like office hours and like study sessions with them, which I remember like thinking back to like high school or like whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do that, that's lame. But do it in college, because a lot of the times, or in nursing school, because they'll help you. Like if you go to their office hours, they want you to succeed, and they see that you're going out of your way to like get help, and they'll like, you know, give you a little pointers and like help you. So I found that really helpful.
Yeah, 100% recommend going to your teacher's office hours, and just like, even if you want to talk about life, like they're there for you. Like they want you to pass, because if you pass, obviously they're doing good. So, you know, at the end of the day, go talk to your teachers, go meet friends, and just know that it's gonna be hell. I'm not gonna lie.
That was rough.
Yeah. Like I remember I moved to Nashville, I was so excited, and then I got a rude awakening and I didn't do anything for the rest of nursing school. All I did was nursing school, and now that I graduated, I'm like, oh wow, I can do hobbies now.
I know, I'm pretty sure that's like all I did too.
Yeah. And then,
it's just a season.
yeah, I feel like giving up, it's also like, one of my teachers always said, you didn't come this far just to come this far. Like, don't, like, just keep pushing. Like, that's, when life gets hard, that's how you know that you're, like, in the right spot, because you're, like, pushing yourself to do better. And, like, it wouldn't be, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like at the end of it, you're, like, very proud of yourself, so you just have to, I don't know, it's okay to have a bad day or a couple bad days, but just, like, keep going. I remember one night I went to clinical, and afterward me and the girl that I carpooled with the clinical went and got ice cream, and we just cried at ice cream. Like, and that's just like what you do. We just went and we sobbed.
Yes.
And then she dropped me off and we saw each other the next day.
Yeah, my second quarter, we were in Starbucks. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning before a test. It was like me and these 3 girls that I barely knew, but we literally had just started studying together, and they just like, kind of knew me as like happy, bubbly, whatever. And they were like quizzing me, and all of a sudden out of nowhere I started like bawling my eyes out, but then I was like laughing at the same time because I don't really cry. Like I'm not a crier. And they were like, are you okay? And they still talk about it to this day. They're like, I've never seen you cry before. We were all so surprised. It's like, yeah, the nursing school will do that. Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, studied with them the rest of the way. They didn't ditch me. They didn't leave me high and dry because I'm a crier.
Right, no judgment.
Next question, what kind of questions were asked during nursing job interviews? I got asked what I looked for in a manager, which I thought was a very interesting question because I've never been asked that before. And that kind of honestly made me feel like that was the floor I was supposed to be on. Like if they're asking you about what you want out of a job, I don't know, I feel like that's a good sign. So I was like, oh wow, thanks for asking me that. No one's ever cared to ask me that. So that was an interesting question. And then obviously you get like the name a time or describe a time you had to overcome something hard in your job.
And then like, well, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? And then I think I had one that asked about my future goals, like what I wanted.
Yeah.
How I saw myself as a nurse. Because they definitely are mindful of the fact that like when you get a new grad position, they know that you don't have any nursing experience. So I feel like it's more just...
Yeah, more like situational answers, and they kind of just want to see how you're going to answer it generally to see how you would fit for the floor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There were some questions they asked me, not like, it was like, name or describe something you had to overcome a hard situation with a coworker.
Yeah. I think I got one of those too. Like you had a disagreement with the... Yeah.
So definitely be prepared for that. I feel like that's a top question. And then definitely strengths and weaknesses.
And I've had so many people tell me this, but always bring a few questions for them. Like it looks really good to like when they ask you questions you have for them to have some questions. Yeah, because they're always going to ask you, what questions do you have for us? And you don't want to just be like,
I don't have any.
Yeah, no. It doesn't matter if you have a question or not. You think of a question.
Yeah, like Google something. I don't make it up. I don't know. Yeah. Or like, put it back on them. Just be like, when was a time that you had a disagreement with one of your employees, and like, how did you work through that? Like, I don't know.
Or like, do people seem to like working there? Or do you guys do like staff get-togethers or stuff like that? Just something to show that you're interested.
Yeah. I'm gonna reapply some lip gloss on.
Oh, yeah, get that on
there. Gotta reapply.
Our neighbors were sitting right by a window, and our neighbors are like wearing these super cute dresses, and I'm very distracted by what they're doing.
Oh.
That's what I keep looking over there, like in these like pink and orange dresses.
Oh, they do look cute.
And they're all like dancing.
There's a suitcase.
There's a suitcase, and they're all just dancing around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are so fun.
Okay, how did you financially attend nursing school? Me personally, pretty much all student loans, yeah. I funded my whole nursing program off student loans. Do I wish I didn't have to do that? Yes, but like at the time, it's just like I needed to go to nursing school, and I had like some money saved up, but definitely not enough to like get me through nursing school. So I was like, whatever, I gotta go. There's no other choice. So I took out student loans through Sallie Mae.
I had a scholarship for most of my nursing school, and then my parents also had like a certain amount of money that they helped my sister and I with for college, which I'm grateful for, and then the rest I took out loans for. And
Okay, my camera just randomly stopped working.
So
Okay.
do we need to scoot out?
But financially, how did we get through nursing school?
Anyways, yeah, so then the rest of my money or whatever expenses, I had loans. So,
Yeah.
and for living, I pulled out some loans
Yep.
and stuff like that. But it was honestly, I nannied for a lot of the beginning parts of nursing school. Towards the end, I just was doing like date night babysitting because that's kind of what I had time for, and I wanted to just like put my time into nursing school. So I just like found ways. I was so broke, but I just made it work. You just make it work.
Same. I've also worked as a nurse extern. So like the times where I did have like a month off, I would work a lot. So that way I didn't have to take out that much of a student loan for the next upcoming quarter. But yeah, definitely recommend getting a job as like a nurse extern or a tech or something. So that way when you do go to apply for jobs, you kind of have more of an in with that hospital.
I think it gives you good experience.
Yeah.
Too. I didn't do any like tech jobs, and I like can go either way now, but I think I definitely can see how it would be beneficial when you first started with nursing. That like takes away a certain stress of like the hospital anxiety. I volunteered at the children's hospital I worked at as my first job. I volunteered there throughout early nursing school, and that was helpful. I feel like that helped me with like interacting with patients and families. So any kind of in is good, I think.
I also had to add on to that question about, they asked, did you have to move out for nursing school, or like can you live at home?
Well, you didn't live at home.
Nope. So I graduated with my first degree in 2020, and literally during the pandemic. So I moved back home and started working as a tech in my hometown at the hospital. And I knew that like that's not what I wanted to do. So I just like started thinking and brainstorming what I wanted to do job related in the hospital. And for me at the time, it was just in my best interest to leave my hometown and my household and just like get out and do my own thing. So that's why I did that. But I think if you have like a really good support system, and because it's very important when you go to nursing school to make sure you're like in the least stressful environment as possible. So with that being said, take that into consideration and like put your mental health at the very top of your priorities in nursing school. So it was just in my best interest to move out and go to a different city.
I went to school where I'm from, but I lived in Phoenix, so it's a big city for those of you that are familiar with Phoenix. So I lived at home for like the earlier parts of college, and then the last 2 years I actually lived with a family friend down the road from my school, which was nice because early mornings and stuff I didn't have to like get up and commute. I could be right there. So I'm very grateful for them because they gave me a little deal.
Oh, sweet.
In their guest house.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, so honestly, just whatever works for you. You don't have to like move out to do nursing school. How did you study for the NCLEX or the NGN NCLEX? So I took the new NCLEX.
Is NGN new?
Next generation, I guess. I don't know. If I'm being straight up, I studied for 2 weeks before my test date. That's it. So I graduated at the end of March, and I took my NCLEX May 6th. So I studied 2 weeks out from my NCLEX. Yeah. And all I did, I'm being so straight up with you, the only thing I did was the Mark K lectures, and I took very detailed notes on that. And when I was doing practice questions, I would like do it with his notes, so that way I was answering the questions the way like he would want you to, because I think he said in his lecture he takes the NCLEX every year, and he makes questions for the NCLEX, and he's like on the board and stuff. So I was like, okay, what better person to learn from than him? Because I feel like take your NCLEX as soon as possible after you graduate, so that way everything's fresh in your brain. Because for me, everything, I was like, it was fresh, but it was more about finding the right answer choice, if that makes sense. So I didn't have to like learn or study any of the material. It was just like weaving your way through the test.
Yeah. I studied for a long time.
I feel like a lot of people did.
I also graduated during COVID, and so all of our like the testing centers, there was like all these issues with us getting test dates. So I don't think I ended up taking my NCLEX until a couple months after I graduated. And I think for a month I studied like 6 hours a day, like most of the days. But I did, which I mean, I don't know if I had to do that or not, but I did okay.
Well, so just whatever makes you feel comfortable. Like if you know through nursing, don't like change anything up after you graduate. Just study as much as you did for a test in nursing school. Maybe a little bit more, but you know.
I did Mark Klimek too. I really liked him. I listened to him, and then I'm like a U-World. I should be like a little U-World. At all the nursing students that come to my work, I'm like, get U-World.
Really?
Because it looks just like the NCLEX. So if you're one of those people that just like gets test anxiety, I feel like it was so helpful that the NCLEX looked exactly like how I practiced.
Yeah, that would make sense, yeah.
That was helpful.
And I took my NCLEX at 8 in the morning because I knew if I waited midday for me, I was just going to get anxiety sitting there waiting to take it.
Yeah.
So like the first thing I did you took yours at 8. Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, the worst that happens is you fail and you go and retake it. It's literally not the end of the world. I feel like a lot of people get worked up about the NCLEX because it is a big deal, but I feel like a lot of people is like, oh, I have this one chance to pass it. It's like, no, you don't. Like, you can retake it.
Can't you pass or take it a couple times before they make you like?
I think you have to wait you have to take it, and say you take it and you fail, then you have to wait 6 weeks before you can sign up again and retake it.
Okay.
So it's honestly not that bad. I mean, I think I waited 6 weeks to take mine after I graduated. Because I guess, yeah.
And then it gives you 6 weeks to do more studying.
Yeah.
Unless you're a pilot.
Look, I made it. I'm here.
Study how you study. I don't know. I feel like some people require more studying than others, so do what works for you.
Yeah. And I actually studied with my classmates after we graduated, so that really helped too, to like keep things the same. So once you graduate, reach out to your classmates, be like, hey, you want to start studying for the NCLEX? Also, as for the next gen NCLEX, I got a lot of case study questions. I think I had like close to 20 case study questions, and in each case study question there was at least 5 questions, if that makes sense. So most of my NCLEX was literally case studies, and then I had a couple select all that apply. I think I only had like 4 of those though, and then maybe a handful of like multiple or just like regular questions. I had some bow tie ones.
Bow tie?
Yeah, it's like you have to like.
Is that where you like do
drag? Yeah. It's just like
I don't even remember, honestly.
Yeah. But honestly, I did it in 85 questions. It shut off in 85, and I don't know. Like the test, I honestly thought it was going to be way harder. I think.
But you feel like you're going to fail.
Yes.
I know. I remember sitting in my car and being like, oh my gosh, I just failed that. And I feel like so many people have that experience.
Yeah. I sat in my car and I was like, oh, so I didn't even do well enough to make it past 85. That's how bad I failed.
Yeah, I think, what was ours? I think ours was
75, I think.
Something like that. And mine shut off at that. And I was like, I remember being like, Mom, I failed. And she was like, honey, do you think you failed so bad that it turned off at the lowest amount? And I was like, yes.
Which I don't think that's ever happened, where someone's test is shut off at the minimum amount and they fail. So I think they at least have to try to give you a chance to like go up on the curve. It's like a curve. Like, so he say here's the line of passing, and if you stay above the line of passing, even if you go back a little bit, then you pass. Is what I was explained, how it was taught to me. So you could get some hard questions, some easy questions. Don't freak out. Just also go into the test knowing that you're going to be taking 180 questions. I feel like I've heard horror stories of people going into the NCLEX and they get to like question 86 and then 87 and then 88 and they start freaking out.
Yeah.
But sometimes people just get like a couple more questions than other people. Just literally go into the test and be like, I have to answer 180 questions no matter what. Also, I turned off my number thing. You can do that. So you don't know what number you're on. But then I like would turn it on and it said like 72, I think. And then so I turned it off for a little bit and then I turned it back on. So I turned it on at 84.
Oh, I don't remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it might have been a new feature, but you can turn off to where you don't see the number of questions. And it took me 3 hours to take the NGN NCLEX. 3 hours to answer 85 questions.
I remember going in and it was so serious. Like you had to put your backpack in like a...
Oh, I didn't bring my phone. I brought my car key and that's it. And my ID.
Put it in this like baggie and then...
In the locker.
Yeah, it was very weird. Oh my gosh, it was so serious.
Yeah, so know whenever that time comes for you that the testing thing is very like serious, but it's also like... whatever. I feel like, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel like you're like about to check into jail or something.
No, that's really what it felt like.
It's like, for what? Like, it's just, they just put so much pressure on people. Anyway, so those, I guess that's all I have really to say about the NGN NCLEX Smart K. And it took me 3 hours, so you're gonna be in there for a minute. Honestly, I think one of my classmates finished an hour and a half, so who knows. And then just go in there thinking that you're gonna answer 180 questions or however much questions you can get.
You're just there to pass. You're not there to get a certain amount of questions.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Okay, what do you bring into work/clinical with you? Clinical, I brought a lot more than I do for work.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, probably same amount.
I just remember showing up for clinical and all the nurses were like, oh my gosh, you're so prepared. And I was like, my nursing program like threatened us. They were like, you need to have this, this, and this, and this. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm prepared. Yeah. Yes, like think every single time you go into clinical, you're literally all eyes are on you. Because I mean, you've been nursing for a while and you've had a lot of students. Like what do you, I guess like you could talk more from that side.
Yeah. I love having students. I think it's so much fun. But definitely, I feel like I'm pretty chill, but I've had some students where like you just know they just don't want to be there, which is fine, but it's also, gosh, I don't know. Yeah, just come and like try to act like you want to be there. Yeah, just like try to act like you want to be there a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I'll have some students that just like, I feel like for the most part, people have been very like respectful and like helpful. I've had so many helpful students.
Oh, wow, nice. I remember you told me that you liked one of your students better than you liked your...
Oh my gosh, yeah, I loved her. I had like a practicum student with me, and she was, I love her.
But you liked her better than you liked the nurse that was like orienting with the job, yeah.
Yeah, because she was just like so excited to be there, and like we just kind of hung out, and like she helped me, and I don't know, we were just like friends at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, just come and like act like you want to be there, and if you don't, then I don't care. Just act like you do.
Yeah, but just know that if you don't try your hardest at clinical or like act like you don't want to be there, I feel like nurses are like, they take note of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They
and word of mouth spreads pretty fast.
Yeah. And not to be that like annoying nurse, but it is like extra teaching, and when you're already having a busy day, like having a student can be overwhelming. So not that I think some nurses probably aren't always very kind when they get a nursing student. I don't think that's right, but it is like an extra thing to have a student. So
yes, I feel like a lot of it sometimes, not muscle memory, but you're just kind of like going through the motions. Then when you gotta like also do that and then pause to like explain what you're doing to someone, I feel like, because I've oriented people as like a tech, and I'm like, this is exhausting. I can't imagine doing it as a nurse.
That's what I work.
Yeah.
I love having students.
Yeah.
I'm like, do this, do this, do this. Let's do this. Do an IM injection. Do this. Put in a Foley catheter.
But I would always bring in my clinical bag scissors, big one. I feel like a lot of nurses are always like looking for scissors, and if you whip out scissors, I feel like,
I was just gonna say that.
They're impressed if you have your scissors. Always, and then go into the supply room like before the shift starts and grab like 2 flushes. I feel like that's a big one. Alcohol pads.
Close swabs, yeah.
Yeah.
Your stethoscope.
Definitely your stethoscope.
Yeah, and use it. Because
yes.
I remember being so nervous to do assessments in clinical, but like, get used to it.
Yeah.
Like listen, see what you hear.
Yeah, bowel sounds, lung sounds.
Are those crackles?
Yeah. What's another one? Pens. Always have a pen or like something to like take notes with.
I used to have like a little pocket-sized notebook that would fit in my scrub pocket, and it was really nice because then I could just quickly like.
I got like a 6-pack off of Amazon. Honestly, for work, I've been bringing the same thing: stethoscope, pen light, pens, scissors, snacks. Snacks are a big one. Yep. I had a manual blood pressure cuff. I still have it. Never used it, but always brought it for clinical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. So like, yeah.
They should have that for you.
Goggles, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There was one time that I was doing my practicum shift in the TICU and blood was squirting everywhere, and I was like, man, I really wish I had my goggles right now. But they're in my bag, so just keep them on you, or like wear some blue light glasses or something. I don't know.
We wear fanny packs at work.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of nurses doing that. I think it's fun.
I know that might be kind of weird as a student, but we wear surgical scrubs because we're in C-sections and stuff, and so there's no pockets. And my last job, we could wear whatever scrubs we wanted because it was pediatrics, and I always had the ones with all the pockets. So when I started this job, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have nowhere to put anything. And so now I have a little fanny pack that I wear around.
I will say I've seen nurses, even like on med-surg, carrying fanny packs. I'm like, that's so convenient. So nice. Yeah.
Mine's stocked.
Yeah. And then the last question, not nursing school related, what camera do I use to vlog? I just use the Canon G7X. That is what I use.
See the link below.
Yeah, I'll link it below. Hey, look at you. Should have to be featured on the vlog all the time. But yeah, that's pretty much all the questions we got. If you have any more questions, maybe we can do another Q&A later. Or if you have any like labor and delivery questions for Haley, just leave them in the comments and maybe we can film something later on. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope this answered all your questions.